as other human rights. It doesn't come alone. It always comes with other rights and other freedoms. So freedom of religion comes in a package with freedom of thought, freedom of association, because you can't do it alone. You should do it with other people. I personally consider myself a liberal person, so I would prefer little interference of state in people's lives and people's relations as far as it is possible. So I think, of course, states should have some affirmative role in promoting dialogue between the religious organizations, just to ensure dialogue and respect. But I don't think that states should interfere too much into life of religious communities, of religious dialogue. I think it should be done maybe not that much under the state-run approach, but rather by the communities themselves. States should protect minority rights. That's part of their obligations and also international obligations. There should be, first of all, equal opportunities for everyone, for all citizens, first of all, despite their religion or their ethnic or national identity. But also there should be some affirmative actions done to protect minority groups. We shouldn't take cultural and historic context off. Of course, we can insist on some legal or legalistic practices, but in reality, like in Georgia, in Armenia, in many Orthodox countries, such as Greece or Cyprus or other places, this is kind of a historic role and historic credits, and you can't simply take it out. On the other hand, it should have its limits. So it shouldn't really violate rights of other people and other groups. And I believe it is possible to have real coexistence and kind of normal relationship. For instance, in the school, I think that subject that has some kind of religious indoctrination should be alternative or should opt out. So for those kids and families and parents who would like to have that for their kids, it's perfectly fine, because in all the European countries there are Catholic schools or Protestant schools, and it is possible. But for those who don't want it, who belong to other religious or ethnic groups or don't belong to any, because there are also some people who don't believe in any of those or consider themselves atheists or theists or other, they should have an opportunity to avoid those classes. I don't know much about Azerbaijan, but I think in Georgia and Armenia, both countries are members of Council of Europe, and they have positive obligations, and being also members of UN, and there are numerous conventions, they all have these obligations. And these obligations are not only negative, they are also positive obligations. For instance, we hear a lot that there are some communities like the Yazidi community who live in isolated regions and who still practice like early marriages and early dropouts from schools, and often the states say, what can we do, this is just cultural thing, or we don't have enough money for that. But in reality they do have obligation to promote human rights, to promote opportunities to those communities too, despite the cultural differences, and there are always ways of doing it, through education, through promotion, through also involving those communities in public life. So I believe on one hand they are doing things, also because of the international obligations, but there is still a lot of things to do, and I believe that little by little the situation will improve.